Today on the episode, I want to share something with you, a little something that I've been scheming on behind the scenes. Welcome to your Consulting Business Podcast. My name is Russell Pearson, and this is episode number 69. Today on the show, I want to share with you, I want to pull the curtain back and actually reveal something that I've been putting together behind the scenes. But before I do, if you are watching this on YouTube, YouTube is the name of this channel. I'd love you to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so that you get notified when new episodes like this become available. If you're listening to the podcast, I'd love you to subscribe on your audio platform of preference, and I'd love a review. Let us know how we're going, what can we do better. And if you're ever interested about sending a question through for me to answer, you can literally send it direct to russell@russellpearson.com. Now, all you spammers, leave that one alone. But everyone else, I'd love to hear from you. Now, today, we want to talk about what I've been secretly working on. But why have I been working on this thing? Well, let's go back to when the weird thing is, if you were to look at where I started my career as a consultant, it was actually at art school. And when I say art school, I'm not talking about the art school that I did when I was in university. I'm talking about the art school that I actually did when I was 8 years old. Now, luckily, when I was younger, I showed a little talent in the world of art, and my father, who was very much appreciative of the art side of the world, decided to send me along and actually give me some lessons. And he sent me to this fabulous woman who was taking art classes in the area, and I ended up creating some amazing pieces of illustration and painting that we ended up using to get into art school when I started in the world of design. So fascinating start to things. But what she was very much in love with was the Impressionist movement, and the Impressionist movement of art, and she would teach us and taught us all about that. Now, what was interesting about the Impressionists is that notably, there was sort of a group of Impressionists that came together and were founders in the movement. Now, they called themselves the Anonymous Society of Artists, and I think it was artists, sculptors, and painters. And they would meet at a cafe, and they would drink coffee, and I'm sure they drank wine, and they would paint and talk about art and the Impressionist movement. And so these founders included people like Monet and Degas and a whole bunch of really famous names in painting and in art at that time, who went on to become quite historic and create what I think is actually one of the more important art movements, which really showed a reflection against the invention of the camera. So interesting, this shows my geeky side. But now, a flash forward to now, I've got my brain and my thoughts and my eyes very much buried into the consulting sector, and I'm working with consultants on a daily basis, helping them to improve their businesses and become better performers and practitioners of the work that they do. And so I'm looking at that and I'm saying, you know what, we're doing a lot of solo work. There's a lot of alone time for a consultant. And so I'm not looking necessarily to fix the alone side of things, because some of us prefer to be alone, let's be honest. But what I do see is the opportunity for potentially us to come together in a way that we accelerate the performance of the work that we're doing, that we improve and sort of rise the tide for all boats. Now, between the time I was 8 and I learned about the Impressionists to now, I've noticed some other things as well. Back when I was very much involved in animation, I was fascinated with the Walt Disney School of Art. So there was the original old men of Disney, who were the original animators, and they came together and they created an apprenticeship program. And they put some classes together, and out of those, a single class, there was multiple great directors who have become incredibly notable now. Brad Bird, for instance, is the director of The Incredibles and a number of other Walt Disney movies that have done incredibly well. Incredibles of the Credibly. The John Lasseter is the other one. He's been the producer behind the scenes of just about every single Pixar movie that did very well, and when he left, they started to drop off. It was fascinating to watch. But not only that, Tim Burton was actually in this same class, and so there was this real melting pot of genius that became genius literally through their interactions. Well, that's the hypothesis anyway. Now, this is not the only time. Earlier in the century, there was the Inklings. Now, the Inklings were a writing society, just a group of men who would come together and write. And they would share their ideas on writing and storytelling and world building. And out of this small group came people like J.R.R. Tolkien. So Tolkien, the author of Lord of the Rings, came out of this. And C.S. Lewis came out of this one. So he's the creator of Narnia and the Chronicles of Narnia. And I think probably in that society, they just want to talk about their initials. J.R.R. Tolkien, C.S. Lewis, C.S. Lewis. I thought it was a boat there for a second. But they created the work together. And you didn't get to go see, like, none of this stuff was really on camera. So we didn't get to see how they worked together and how they got to do the work that they did. But there is another one. And the best example in probably more recent times, and if you haven't seen it, I recommend that you go out and see it, is Get Back. Now, Get Back is a documentary that's like real footage from one of the Beatles' last albums, and the album that was recorded live on the rooftops in London. So you watch the process as every member of that band work not together. They almost work in competition, but they enthusiastically compete with one another and improve one another and bounce off one another, almost brainstorm style, to create some amazing music. One comes in with one tune and then the other bounces off, and the work improves and improves and improves. And especially between John and Paul in the Beatles, seeing their interaction is kind of magic. And so if you haven't seen the documentary and you like the Beatles, I think that's a really good one to watch. But what I loved about it is the opportunity to watch real professionals with some camaraderie and some competition work together to create something better. So what have I done? So what I've gone and created is a group, and I have called it the Consulting Guild. And why have I called it the Consulting Guild? Because, well, number one, I'm a blacksmith and I love all that old medieval stuff. But the reality is the guilds of the time were around for multiple reasons. They were around to support one another. Yeah, absolutely. They were there to share ideas and potentially pass work to one another when they knew of a specialist that needed to do certain work. Now, there were all sorts of guilds. There were armourer guilds and there were blacksmithing guilds, and there were guilds of all sorts. Guilds have kind of gone away and now we've got associations, but I want to bring the guild back because I think that there is an amazing opportunity not just to help other consultants with their business, which is kind of the work that I do today, but also to help lift the craft of this profession. I think the consulting profession is one that tends to work on independent people, learning some modalities, learning from their own experience and expertise, putting some frameworks together, and then actually going and putting those through their paces with clients. And over time, historically and experience, goes into making them better at what they do. But what we don't see a lot of is consultants talking about that, talking about not only their craft, but improving their business, and then obviously the opportunity to network with peers and create a really strong professional network. And so that's kind of what I've done. I've put together this group. We have just opened the doors. What we're doing is we're limiting it total to 100 professionals. So only 100 consultants, with the idea that if one leaves, we bring in another one that applies. And so we really are developing and evolving the best in the world is the aim of this thing, so that we actually have the best consultants coming in, but also the best consultants coming out. In other words, they're improving not only their business so that they can have a business lifestyle that allows them to work when they want, which is something we do in the Forge already, but they're now able to, yes, do that, but also improve their craft as a consulting professional. Now, what does that look like? Well, for me, that looks like bringing all sorts of elements from all different areas, but also the diverse histories and backgrounds from these other consultants, and discussing the challenges and opportunities in their world and where they can improve, learnings that they're doing, educate one another, and at the same time I can actually bring in experts from outside of the space to talk about different areas of interest for consultants, so that we can educate ourselves in that environment as well. So if that sounds like it could be of interest, then you might want to know a few more of the details. Now, I'm more than happy to give you all the details. I've got them all written down, and you can check them out. But go to theconsultingguild.com. If you're wondering how to spell that or what have you, ideally it'll be in front here. But click on the link in the comments. You'll be able to get that as well. But theconsultingguild.com is where you can put an expression of interest in, and we'll send you all the details. And then you can decide you want to be part of it, or is it not for you? Now, for some people, it may not be for them, but for others, this is going to be a real triangle opportunity, a trifecta for you to improve your business. Design the business in a way that enables you to have a lifestyle where you get to work when you want, with whom you want, wherever you want in the world. I think that's the amazing opportunity of the consulting model, is that you have the flexibility and freedom to do all those things. So not only is it about the profit, but amazing profits for the time spent and amazing value for you. But on the flip side, then we'll also work on the craft, enabling us to get better at what we do so that we can get better client results. But even above that, work in ways that gets them accelerated results, more efficient results, and at the end of the day, maybe even work with them on not just outcomes and results, but helping these people transform into the opportunity and the potential that they have in front of them. So we can help people do all these things, and ideally that's what we want to do together. Can we do that with each other? And that's the opportunity here. So finally, the peer network. We're developing 100 solid professionals who are going to know one another, are going to have opportunities to do mastermind work and to network and to refer to one another, because there are a whole lot of experts and specialists that I have surrounding me, and I think the opportunity is to bring them together so that we are better than the individual sum of our parts. So if you're interested in looking at that or getting some more information about that, so you can even consider if it's right for you, then go to theconsultingguild.com, and I'm more than happy to send you some more information there. But I love this concept of actually of the group of people who came together and ended up becoming not just world-class, but actually historic. I think there is a way that we can become, there's a great phrase for this. We can become the advisors to 1,000 kings. We can be the Merlin to help other people do amazing things in this world. We can be the stone that is dropped in the water that ripples out and actually creates massive change in this world. And I think one of the ways that we do that is not to sit alone. Not to sit on our own, certainly not to think that we know everything, because school is never out for the professional. And if you are a professional, I think there's your opportunity. I know some of the best professionals in this sector are still continuing to develop at the age of 80. They don't need to work. There's absolutely no need to work because they've made millions of dollars. But they continue to get better at their craft because they know the better they get, the more that they can help those around them. If you're interested to have a look at it, theconsultingguild.com. Until next time, stay passionate, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye for now.